The process of resolving your matrimonial finances on divorce can be a daunting prospect. What is going to happen to the family home? What will happen to my pension? Am I entitled to ongoing financial support from my ex-partner after we separate? And if so, for how long? These are likely to be just a handful of the questions racing around your mind at the time. It is important to be aware that the starting point in every case when looking at dividing matrimonial capital assets, such as property, savings and investments, is based on equality. This is regardless of whether one spouse was the breadwinner and the other the homemaker. This is very much just a starting position, however, and there are several factors which may justify the needle shifting in one party or the other's favour. The most common circumstance in which an unequal division of matrimonial capital may be considered fair is where there is simply not enough money to meet both of your needs. In these cases, a greater share of matrimonial capital is likely to be provided to the individual who, for instance, has a lesser income or who may have a greater capital need due to their role as a primary carer for any minor children of the relationship. In such cases, the financial contribution each party has made to the marriage, by paying, for instance, a larger proportion of the deposit for the family home, is very unlikely to have a bearing on the division of matrimonial capital on divorce. This is particularly the case in long marriages. In very short marriages, particularly where there are no children of the relationship, arguments around specific financial contributions to the marriage or assets brought into the relationship are more likely to be successful. Where there are ample financial resources to meet both parties' needs, there is generally less justification for one party or the other to receive a greater share. In these circumstances, assets which have been acquired before the marriage, or even those which have been acquired during the course of the marriage but have remained separate to matrimonial assets, may be excluded from the pot available for division. Income is not treated in the same way as capital on divorce, and whilst you may have an entitlement to ongoing financial support from your partner once you have separated, or may be liable for making such payments yourself, the intention is not to equalise incomes. Instead, the amount of financial support you may be entitled to or obligated to provide will depend on what each party needs to meet their reasonable expenditure every month, and whether there is a shortfall or a surplus in meeting that need based on that person's sole income. Any departure from an equal division of capital assets due to one party having a greater earning capacity than the other is also likely to be a factor in determining whether ongoing maintenance is appropriate or not. The duration of financial support is dictated by several factors, including the parties' respective ages, the future income prospects of both parties, and the ages of any minor children of the family. Much like non-pension capital, the starting position for the division of pension assets on divorce remains an equal one, unless the marriage has been particularly short or the parties to the marriage are young. In most circumstances, total pension accrual across both spouses' lifetimes is included within any pension sharing calculations, although it is common for parties to seek to exclude pension assets which have been accrued before or after their marriage. The success of this approach is likely to depend on the length of the marriage and the parties' respective ages. It is also important to be aware that pension assets cannot necessarily be treated in the same way as non-pension assets. Whilst determining a fair pension share can be as simple as, for instance, totting up both parties' pension values and dividing the figure in two, the capital value assigned to a pension pot, known as a cash equivalent transfer value or CETV, is not necessarily indicative of the true value of that pension, particularly when dealing with public sector pensions like the NHS and armed forces. In these circumstances, it can often be necessary to seek the advice of a pension actuary to determine what a fair pension share looks like. Whatever your financial circumstances, the family team at Curzon Green are experienced in navigating the nuanced landscape of financial settlement on divorce and are here to guide you towards the best possible outcome for you.